Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Paul here at Radio Free Hammer Hall, and today I want to talk about a little event that we had. Well, it was a couple of weeks ago now. Life's been a little crazy, and had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and just haven't had a chance to make a video about it. But what we did, I had a bunch of people over to my house. We set up a big ass mega battle and had a barbecue and hung out and just had a good time in general. So I wanted to kind of go over um, like the general rules that we used for the mega battle and how things went and how I would do things differently in the future. I definitely want to do this again. It was a lot of fun. I loved the idea. Um, Next time, definitely need to make some changes. So let's just talk about the rules that we used right off the top of this. So we have some framework here for um, how all of this worked out. We ended up having 7 players, um, and we were playing 3,000 points each. And so we actually put 2 tables together to play the game, which, you know, that in and of itself, I think, kind of created problems. Like, people on one end of the table really weren't interacting with people on the other end of the table. So, I think, going that big, I think, is kind of a problem. Um, just like in logistics. Um, so as far as the actual game, we basically threw out all of the army composition rules so that you could just play with whatever you wanted. And I actually put together like a player pack for this so that everybody could read all of the rules ahead of time and understand what was going on, and understand like the intent of what I was trying to create. And basically, the idea was I want everybody to bring their big, cool, stompy stuff and bring the most ridiculous things to the table. Um, so that way, we don't have minimum battle lines, so you people are encouraged to take more monsters, more elite units, all of that jazz, and no restrictions on monsters or heroes, so people could just take the cool stuff. Interestingly enough, that like if you scale up uh, the army composition rules for match play to 3,000 points, I don't think anybody actually violated those rules. I think everybody would have been in compliance with a 3,000 point match play list, despite not actually having any rules. And we're going to talk about that issue in a different video that I have planned, but not right now. Um, Getting further into the rules of the game. So we used, sort of as a basis, the Triumph and Treachery rules out of one of the old General's handbooks. I want to say 2017 or 2018 was like the first one there. So that was sort of like the basis for like the fundamentals of how the game was going to work with all of those people. Um, Layered on top of that, if you go to wearetheneon.com, you will find a set of Triumph and Treachery cards to add to the game as well. That was created by Jeff Egan and Stone Monk Gamer. That's up on there. You can just print it out, cut up the cards. I grabbed a bunch of old Magic cards and threw them in sleeves with those cards. Um, and they're just like effects. The card tells you when you can play it, and it just does stuff. You can bribe other players to do things. Um, it creates a little more interactivity, and it leans more into that like Triumph and Treachery actual aspect of the game. People that might remember back to Warhammer Fantasy days, that's actually really like mimicking what the old Triumph and Treachery was. It was like a box set with a rule book and cards and a bunch of other stuff, I think. And I only played that once, so, and it was almost 8 years ago now, so I don't really remember. Um, but it was basically building off that concept, like reintroducing the cards. The win condition for the game was basically kill points. We tracked it all with treasure tokens based on the value of, like, the points value of units that were killed, and uh, tokens were also like an in-game currency that you could trade to other players or bribe other players with. All of those sorts of things. And some of the Triumph and Treachery cards also had a cost associated with them. Um, like you had to use some of your treasure to actually activate the card if it was a more powerful ability. Um, Other rules we had going on, um, instead of using the normal mystical terrain rules, I looked back and I saw that, for inspiration, I went through all of our old generals' handbooks, and I looked at, the year that we had, like, one-page rules for each realm, and I looked at what we had for Gur, and it was basically all of the terrain was deadly. And I said, well, this game is supposed to be crazy and fun. Let's take it up a notch. So deadly is, I believe, you finish a move within an inch of the terrain feature. You roll a die. On a 6, you take D3 mortal wounds, I think. So I changed that to, on a 5+, you take D6 mortal wounds, and those mortal wounds can't be prevented. So, like, ward saves don't work. So that made all of the terrain extra bitey. The idea was that this was also like a narrative game set in Thondia. There was a specific location in Thondia that I picked out for this, which kind of leads into the next thing. So the location that this was based on in Thondia was basically an ancient temple of the Sons of Bahamut. So we used the monstrous denizen rules from Season of War Thondia, which basically adds a monster to the game. And we did basically one monster for every 2 players. So we had 3 Mega Gargants that started the game that players rolled off at the beginning of the battle round to see who controlled them. And then you could send them into your opponents and do lots of damage to them. We made them all gate breakers so that they were all extra powerful. And what else did we do? The other fun thing was I decided to add a little bit of extra intrigue into this. So when you killed one of the Gargants, they would drop an artifact, and the artifact would be from the old why am I losing the name of it? Malign Sorcery book. When you had those massive tables of realm artifacts. So we picked, just the Gur artifacts, and when you killed a Gargant, you dug through his pants and found an artifact to add to your army, and you would just roll randomly on the tables to determine what artifact you got. In addition to that, you could also get more artifacts by going and searching the terrain features. Now, bear in mind that in order to search the terrain features, you have to get a hero next to the terrain feature, which then they are subject to the deadly terrain. And so you had like this trade-off with your heroes where you had to go to the terrain to potentially get an artifact to power up that hero or another hero in your army, but they might die. And it was really funny. Like the first one, I think, like the first time someone searched um, a or tried to search a terrain feature, um, it was Corgus Call, and he rolled a 6 and just died before he found anything. Um, so that was fun. It was, again, fun, thematic. The idea of uh, the extra deadly terrain is, you're in Thondia, there's monsters and crazy things everywhere. So if you go near a piece of terrain, there could be something hidden in there that's really predatory and is going to kill you. So tried to keep it thematic and narrative and fun. That was the general concept of what we were doing there. Um, so I'm trying to think if we had any other big things in there. As far as players in the game, we had I was running Nurgle. There was a Slaves to Darkness, Night Haunt, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Soulblight Grave Lords, Skaven, and Khorne. Um, and basically, pretty much everybody brought like the big bads of their army. Um, the Khorne player happened to have the Forge World Khorne Dragon. Um, so that was pretty awesome. I had a Great Unclean One and a bunch of other big stuff in my list. Nagash was on the table, Catacross, um, Vermin Lords, and uh, uh, what's his face? Thankful on Bone Ripper, and I believe probably Lady Olander was, I think, in the battle as well, and a Kronspine Incarnate. Um, so it was like a big, crazy, fun game. Like, oh, and the Slaves to Darkness player was basically playing Archaon and 12 Varen Guard and some support stuff, um, which was like very fun. Um, so the question is, how did all of this go? And I would say a lot of the rules of this actually worked really well. The problem we really ran into was that it was a 7-player game and it was 3,000 points on a double-sized table. That, I think, was really like the downfall of the game altogether. We played for like 8 or 9 hours and we only got through about 2.5 battle rounds. Like, it just took forever. And, mixed in there, of course, we were all eating barbecue. I was going back and forth between the game and the smoker, and people had alcohol, and there was some cannabis substances there, so most of us were high as pterodactyl tits, we might say, so that was slowing down the game a bit. But it was really fun. So the big thing that I would really change for a future game is to just scale it down a bit, to do like a game on a single normal size table and probably max it out at 4 players. And that way everybody can interact with each other. It's only 4 players, so it's not a crazy, like, it doesn't take a crazy long time to go around the table. And, like, it was taking so long to go around the table that players were actually having side games of Magic, like over on a picnic table, like when it wasn't their turn. So, I mean, we all found a way to have fun even when it wasn't our turn. And the treachery cards also like factored into that a little bit because you had stuff to do when it wasn't your turn. But I think really, like, for a multiplayer game like that, you need to go scale it down to like a 4-player game probably. And the 3,000 points I think is fine as long as you kind of keep that spirit of like just take all the big stuff. Like, if you're gonna do that and bring like a thousand goblins or a thousand clan rats. Like, that is not the way to do this. This is like, bring all the monsters, bring all of the crazy gods, do all of that stuff, bring all the elite crazy stuff. So although you're playing a high point limit, you're not moving a lot of stuff around the board. um so I think if you're even if you're playing a 4 player game, I think that's really the key. Like, I think you could still play 3,000 points and have everybody just go bananas and just bring everything. um but you just have to have that understanding that, like, bring all your elite stuff, don't bring your hordes. Or if you're going to bring your hordes, you better bring some movement trays. uh, Otherwise, like, all of the rules actually worked really well. I was originally going to publish all of the rules to this, but I think because it didn't work the way I wanted to because of the scale of the game, um, I want to try rewriting it, doing it again with 4 players, and seeing how that goes. Maybe tweaking a couple of other rules along the way. You know, it we like when we first got to the table, like, from like the document that I had, we like immediately changed some rules on the fly. There were some things that like weren't addressed in the rules document that we had to come up with answers to on the fly. um it wasn't perfect, and I think something like that really can't be. I mean, it's just a thing to do for fun. It's a big fun narrative game, and that's the point. Like, the whole point was really to get a bunch of friends together and play Warhammer and eat barbecue all day. And as far as that went, like, mission accomplished. We all had fun, we all had good food, we all had a good time. So the question is, like, what's the next step to do it again and do it better? um if you want to do the same number of people, well, we're gonna have to split it up into 2 tables, right? Like, I think that's the best way to do it. And if we're thinking about this, if we want to do a big, fun, crazy narrative game, um and but we're trying to restrict each table to 4 players, well, okay, now maybe we can have each table be a little bit different. Maybe they are, if we're staying with the Thondia idea, maybe we can be in 2 different locations in Thondia and have a little bit of different rules for each one. But have the 2 tables also be able to interact with each other in some ways. Like, maybe using your treachery cards on the other table. Um, I don't know. Try and figure some stuff out. I don't know. But having some little way that, like, the 2 tables could interact with each other, and still basically have a backyard full of friends playing Warhammer for the day, um, could be cool. Like, this really encourages me to play a lot more multiplayer Warhammer, do a lot more narrative stuff, and not be afraid to just throw some narrative rules together. Um, Almost all of what I did was just piecing together stuff that was already written by Games Workshop, and I just went, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this, and put it all together and made it happen. Um, so yeah, I think fundamentally the game worked, um, and the only problem was scale, and we can work with that. So my next step is I need to work on scheduling another one of these, and um, coming up with some new ideas. Maybe we do it in a different realm next time. Um, so anyway, that is it for now, guys. If you want the rules document, like, just leave a comment below with like an email address or something, and I can send it to you. I'm not gonna, like, you guys can have it if you want it, but I don't feel like the form that it's in right now is like something that I want to publish like publicly and be like, hey guys, everybody should go play this. Because unless you have like 16 hours to play the game, playing like a 7 or 8 player game of Age of Sigmar on across like a double sized table is an insane idea. And I didn't really think that part through enough. There might be some other mechanics to make it go quicker. But anyway, that's it for now, guys. Hope this might give you guys some inspiration to do some fun stuff with your own games, get together with friends. And I gotta say, like, I love this idea of, I don't know, what the Brits call a garden hammer. Just hanging out in your backyard, firing up the barbecue, having a bunch of friends play Warhammer for the day. Even, like, what we did was just a silly narrative thing. But, like, in all seriousness, like, you could grab, like, 8 friends, say, or, like, get 8 people together and 4 tables and just have an 8-player RTT in your backyard. And, eat, drink, and be merry. And I know, believe Chuck Moore, Strength Hammer on Twitter, I believe he's done that a few times. So props to him for a great idea. Yeah, well, that's about it for now, guys. Hopefully this inspires and you guys have some fun games. And I will let you know the next time I do something like this, how it all turns out and what we did differently. And I will talk to you all later.